Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to this VidCon Now VidTalks session. I'm Brennan Gann. I'll be the moderator of this conversation. Little background on me. I've been in the creator space since 2006. I'm a partner and chief social officer at Mechanism, an independent creative agency. But that's enough about me. I'm really excited about today's talk because we're going to be exploring one of my all-time favorite topics, TikTok, and more specifically, the anatomy of a trend. So we'll try and answer questions like, how can you tell if a new sound is about to take off? How can you predict what trends are here to stay and which are going to fizzle out? We'll also discuss strategies for making the most of your TikTok reach, hacks for audience growth, and generally demystifying the platform and the making of trends. To help answer these pressing questions, we'll be chatting with some great experts in the space. We've got the co-founders of the TikTok analytics startup Trendpop here. They've got a ton of data, knowledge, and deep expertise when it comes to this stuff. Before I have them introduce themselves, I just want to call out, if anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them in the audience chat. We'll do our best to address them in real time or throughout the conversation. So with that, I'll hand it over to Trendpop to introduce themselves. Take it away, guys.
Hey, everyone. We're Trendpop. So I'll introduce myself first. I'm CEO and co-founder of Trendpop. My background is mainly in machine learning and software engineering. Started my career at Google working on that the little box that pops up if you type in like Barack Obama. It tells you like how tall a person is and things like that. From there, I started working in machine learning infrastructure at a startup called Determined AI, where I was for 2.5 years, and started Trendpop last year with Yoni.
Yeah, and a little bit about myself. Also a software engineer. Yoav and I have actually known each other since like middle school. We've loved engineering. We've worked together in plenty of startups before. So I've actually been working for about 10 years as a software engineer, and specifically around data infrastructure is kind of like my primary kind of focus, which is perfect for when it comes to building a TikTok analytics platform to process all that data. So yeah, Yoav, feel free to take it off a little bit about us.
Yeah, so I thought I could start by talking a little bit about Trendpop and what we do. And kind of start by talking about how we got started. So around in June 2020, I had quit my job, and Yoni and I were kind of talking behind the scenes about what were interesting things to do in the space. And we had a lot of experience in machine learning, so we are generally interested in applied machine learning problems. And it was a really exciting time. GPT-3 had just been released by OpenAI, and there was a lot of promise in the space, especially in visual models. So we naturally—
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Sort of on behalf of the audience. Can you break down in layman's terms machine learning and GPT-3? Because like those are things that I sort of know, but
of course,
just sort of like I think I've got a vague idea, but I think it'd be good for myself and the audience.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, machine learning is for sure, can be used as like a hype term these days, especially like artificial intelligence. So I'll just give my description of it. Machine learning is basically using past data to try to predict future behavior. So any situation in which you are taking, usually it's a large data set, like for instance, like 1.3 billion TikTok videos, and trying to use that to understand what's going to happen in the future on a variety of different dimensions. And GPT-3 is a natural language processing model released by OpenAI, which basically talks like a human. It's actually really crazy. I encourage everyone to go look up a YouTube video of it. There's a lot of really cool demos out there, but basically you seed it with like a phrase. You just say like, "Oh, I went for a walk in the park," and then it'll like write a whole novel for you. So it's just a cool application of recent advances in machine learning.
Very cool. So yeah, and sorry, I interrupted you, but tell me more about Trendpop and what you guys do. Obviously, we shared you do.
Yeah. So getting back to Trendpop, we were like seeing all these really cool models coming out. We had worked for years in the space, And we started looking at social media platforms. The intuition there was kind of, there's a ton of visual data out there. Actually, we would later come to estimate that there's actually 8.6 billion TikTok videos just alone on TikTok. So, our general intuition was, wow, we can do a lot of stuff with this data, applying different models to it, and trying to, understand and get insights out of this data. But that was the only intuition we had. And when we started talking to, professionals in the space, social media marketers, creators, we started realizing that by far the most interesting platform, even last year, but more so today, was TikTok. And there are two really interesting things about TikTok. Number one is the algorithm. It's completely, I think it's one of the most innovative algorithms since PageRank. Was created by Google 20 years ago. And it can basically propel anyone from nothing, no amount of followers, basically no one knows about them, to a viral video that has millions and millions of views, like we'll talk about in just a little bit. And then also the wealth of data, just 8.6 billion TikTok videos out there, just so much data, which is like just absolutely a delight for engineers like Yoni and I to play around with. So once we realized that, this a vast majority of professionals were actually also interested in this platform, and were willing to engage with us and trying to understand how to go viral on social media, we decided to create a business around it, Trendpop. So our business, Trendpop, our mission is to build tools to help you go viral on social media. And we've started that journey. We think it's going to take years, but we started that journey just being exclusively focused on TikTok, because that's just where there's a lot of market pull right now, and also exclusively focused on marketers that work at brands and agencies that try to grow the reach of their business through TikTok.
Cool. And so, marketers are a primary customer. What are some common use cases for them? I approach you guys. Full transparency, I've used Trendpop, but for the viewer, what are some common use cases?
Yeah, so we basically have 4 kind of big offerings, and it's really kind of to help you go from, man, TikTok's this like new space, I don't really know much about it, to I'm going to get this thing viral on TikTok and I'm going to prove my use case. So, we start with social listening. We have over 800 million videos that we've crawled so far, and we're going to get to those billions of videos that y'all mentioned in a little bit. But for now, 800 million videos that, we analyze, we see kind of basically, what's growing, like what are the brands that are doing well, what are the hashtags, what's like the market cap of beauty on TikTok versus, say, for instance, gaming and stuff like that. So it's a really great way to kind of figure out what is actually worth putting money and essentially dollars into. And then kind of leading to that, our content strategy kind of offering. So being able to actually see what are the trends that are happening now, being able to hop on those trends, and even being able to come up with new trends. So finding out what's successful, what's not working out so well. You're able to kind of really come up with these new ideas for new trends. And we're going to talk a little bit later, I think, about kind of some of the trends that we found to be really successful. And then lastly, kind of on kind of more concretely, we have our creator search. So this is being able to surf over our 80 million creators that we have, finding the right creators. Either they're great brand ambassadors, they love the content that for the brands that you're marketing already, or even more important in our opinion is finding the creators that are blowing up right now that haven't gotten big yet. Because those are the creators that you're going to be able to build really long-term relationships with, and help them grow their account as they help you grow kind of your presence on TikTok. And then kind of lastly, we do offer our campaign reporting basically. So we basically analyze millions of things. We track data for basically millions of trends. So, we do daily and hourly reports for, any hashtag, any sound, any kind of trend that exists on TikTok, you'll be able to find it there.
Gotcha. So creator search, social listening, data reporting, and helping with kind of content strategy based off the insights.
Exactly. Yeah.
So knowing you've got these insights and kind of going back to the topic or the headline of this talk, and deconstructing trends, what insights can you share about how you can set a piece of content up for success in terms of like actually going viral, generating as much earned reach as possible? What are some insights and sort of knowledge bombs you could share for the viewer?
Totally. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the most common questions we get, and it's a question that's really at the core of our business. So, I mean, the way we approach this question is we first try to define what is a trend. Once we have defined what a trend is, then we can understand why it's happening, and then we can understand how to recreate further trends. So how do you understand what is a trend? I mean, you know, everyone knows like, oh, there's like a sound blowing up on TikTok, like I got it served on my like For You page, right? But we actually wanted a more precise definition, because we're looking at like millions and millions of sounds and hashtags, and actually it's like kind of hard to parse through that without actually having a good definition there. So we first have to define a trend as something that is growing faster than the rest of TikTok. And we use daily percent growth as that metric. So we can actually say in our system, you know, there's like millions of sounds that are blowing up. Maybe some you've seen, maybe some you haven't, but they're concretely ones that are viral because they're growing 99% faster than the rest of TikTok. And that's kind of where we start for understanding kind of what a trend is. And it's a simplified view of our model. A few more signals go into that, but that's really where we start.
Awesome. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, and then from there, you know, once you understand what a trend is, then you can dig in and try to understand, you know, what are the factors where a trend was successful. So we thought maybe it's useful as a next step to talk about like a case study of a specific trend, and try to dig in, and then from there we can talk about a few of the general principles that we think you can apply to scenarios.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Yeah, share any sort of anecdotes or case studies.
Yeah, so we have one that we pulled up. Actually, it's pretty recent. So if you guys aren't familiar with the "Yo, bro, who got you smiling like that" trend, so it's
very familiar.
Oh yeah, it's great. I love that content. It shows up on my For You page all the time, and it's part of the reason why we picked it, honestly. But yeah, in terms of this trend, for those that don't know, basically the idea is it starts off with essentially the question like, "Yo, bro, who got you smiling like that?" And it shows like a video of somebody kind of just like smiling, kind of like in the corner, just like being a little shy about it. And then it cuts to kind of something that they love, like they love it. It makes them smile basically, and it plays the song what's it called, Loverboy by AWOL, which is it goes like "kill the lights," that kind of idea. And we kind of noticed that basically like the trend here was not like just that song. It was mostly revolved around it, but it was also kind of the hashtags like, "Yo, bro, who got you smiling like that?" Smiling like that, smiling, all the kind of like variations were all included in the trend. That sound was not also the only sound that like, blew up. Like there were like a few kind of remixes of it, memes of it, things like that. And also like the official sound too, also kind of like blew up pretty big. I think it made it to the top 50 songs on the like viral US. So it's like it made a huge impact, like not only on TikTok but also like off TikTok as well. And just to give you guys a sense of like how big this trend is, like we're talking like almost 1 million video creates for it. We have over 2 billion views, and the engagement rate is 21%. So that's like better, by the way, than like 80% of TikTok. So like, overall, like this was like pretty big. And at its peak, what we noticed is basically it was growing 354% day over day. So now it's at like 2.8%, by the way. So it's like kind of died out. It's kind of towards the end of its trend. But really kind of what we noticed, like why did we call this a trend, was like, it got that high percent growth. And we basically saw that like that hockey stick come up. And we were tracking it basically from the beginning of the trend. So yeah, that's kind of like a great like point to basically start on, like, you know, why did this like trend blow up? So we have like a few different things that we want to kind of pull out. So I'll give you all kind of the first crack at kind of one of our special nuggets of information here that we pulled out.
Yeah. We're tracking signals every day, every week around trends, and we have a bunch of different signals that we track. And kind of one of the ones we've recently been tracking a lot is what we call the Genesis video. So the Genesis videos is kind of this concept that we've defined, which is there's like a video typically, or maybe it's like a set of videos, but it seems to really kick off the trend. And I think a lot of people who work on TikTok a lot get this kind of like intuition, like maybe you'll see that video as like the first one in your For You page, and you'll see a bunch of ones that follow it. But we got really interested in this, and we kind of dug deeper, and we've actually been able to really define kind of what makes a Genesis video or a set of Genesis videos. And these are the factors. So the first is engagement rate. So engagement rate is on TikTok, we define it as the number of likes plus comments plus shares over views. And a very common metric that you'll see on a Genesis video is an engagement rate, typically over 20%. We are able to analyze engagement rates of videos in the same way that we analyze trends, which is we look at like the engagement rates across all of TikTok and then figure out a percentile ranking of like what engagement rate falls in the top 10%. That's about around an engagement rating of 20%. The second factor you'll see in a Genesis video is a high amount of views. So typically over 1 million views. You know, that just means like it has enough reach for it to seed enough kind of creators. And then the biggest factor in a Genesis video is what it causes afterwards, which is it causes a trend, right? It causes a very high day-by-day percentage growth. So in this example, the engagement rate was, we found a Genesis video for this case study. I think it was posted on October 5th. That is July 5th, my bad. And it grew by, after the Genesis video was posted, we saw a daily growth of about 81% sometime like 2 days afterwards. And then that daily growth peaked to 354% on July 8th. So that's a very strong indicator that is a Genesis video. In this case, the user that posted the Genesis video is a user called sorry, I don't have the user pulled up here.
It's all right.
The interesting point that I want to call out is actually the person who posted it wasn't that big of a creator. And that's what's really cool about TikTok. There is a correlation between having a high amount of followers and creating a Genesis video. Because if you have a higher amount of followers, you're more likely to get these like metrics that you need for a Genesis video. But in a lot of cases, we find that it's just good content that drives these Genesis videos. It's like someone can come out of nowhere and make a great video, and it resonates with people. And it has some of these other factors that we'll talk about in just a second that just catapult it to growth and really start this trend.
I would love to hear what those factors are. What are those commonalities? Because I think everyone sort of associates, everyone has their own interpretation of like what good content is. But maybe a better question is what content makes a Genesis, what factors sort of go into the creation of a Genesis video?
Yeah, it's pretty, that's kind of essentially the question that we love to get to, which is, you know, we have this concept basically of trend friction. So this is basically this idea that like this trend is easy and it's relatable. And those are kind of the two big factors in order to basically make a trend actually work. You know, that Genesis video has kind of these two parts to it. So the first one, basically relatability. So it's basically how personally like you resonate with your audience here. And this is really depends on kind of what audience that you guys are interested in basically tackling. So like if you're looking at, say, for instance, like all of TikTok, it's a huge audience. You need something that, everybody is going to be able to say, wow, I get that. I understand it. I know what to do from here. So like going back to like the case study that we talked about, like, yo, bro, who got you smiling like that? Everyone smiles. Everybody is like, I get those moments. I have that moment where I have this like person or this thing or this like something that makes me like, oh, I love this and I want to make a video about it. And the main thing here is like, it's about basically your audience. And if you want to like basically make a big trend, you have to make it universal. So the second thing is the participatability, basically. It's basically how easy it is to actually participate in the trend. All the trends that we've saw that like do really well on TikTok, they're so easy to do. They're like, take for example, the same case study. Like in order to get me to like participate in this trend, all I got to do is film myself smiling and then film something that I love and then play the same audio in the background. All the dance trends that do really well, we notice like are always the ones that tend to be like only upper body, less lower body, less flexibility required, really simple, easy moves to make. So like there's things that like basically like, oh, me as a creator and like globally on TikTok, I can actually participate. And I don't feel like I'm like, oh, this is like a really high effort in order to like be a part of it.
Awesome. And I see we've got some, or actually, let me try and distill that and consolidate it before moving on to more questions. But sort of in a nutshell, it seems like it's like some aura of relatability and approachability, and then a trend that is easily repeatable, but also at the same time, it's like repeatable and something anyone could do, but is very clearly like defined. Like it's 1 + 1 + 1, done. You nailed it. I mean,
Exactly.
Do you see those are the sort of the two buckets that work together to form a Genesis video?
Exactly, yeah. And if your Genesis video basically has that, and it has the ability to basically hit as many people as possible, obviously, as y'all mentioned, like it's more likely if they have more followers to really blow up on TikTok, you're going to get a really high chance of getting a really good trend. And this is kind of one last thing to mention. It's all about like the odds. You're not guaranteed a trend here. You're just here to increase the odds for making a better trend here.
Yeah. It sounds so easy. Like, I know firsthand it is very, very difficult. Maybe real quick, we can take a couple quick audience questions and then jump back into things. But I don't know if you guys want to address this one. Maybe feel free to just drive people to the website. But Teresa asks, what's the pricing structure like? Why? What do I do to make sure my investment will be successful?
Oh yeah, good question. I think we're still early and still in closed beta. So I would drive that question to our website, trendpop.social, book a demo with us. If it is a good fit for doing a pilot with us, we do have like a free trial. So you're definitely like welcome to test it out with us before you kind of commit to being our customer.
And in terms of what should she do to make sure her investment is successful? I mean, I feel like maybe a lot of that has to do with what industry they're in, but I know you guys are mostly focused on music marketers and other advertisers, product marketers and stuff. Not product marketers and product marketing, but CPGs and brands.
Yeah, we're mainly focused on brand marketers. And it kind of depends on the use case. I mean, we have, some people that like very directly, use our insights and content strategy to drive like a paid social strategy. So in that case, it's very clear what the return on investment is. It's just like you track the CPC and, and then other people, use us for like creator search and on the more on influencer organic side. And in that case, there's just different ways of tracking return on investment depending on what industry you're in and what kind of campaign you're running.
Awesome. And then Tyler has a couple questions here. One is Trendpop good for original sounds? I know some platforms are not able to track. I believe you're able to track all types of sounds. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, cool.
Yeah, so we actually track, I think we're at 60 million sounds that we track. So this is both official and original sounds. Even for the original sounds, we do audio fingerprinting in-house in order to see if that original sound has either, some type of music that, is actually recorded music. So this is great for, like if you're trying to find audio that is like, doesn't have licensing issues, this is a perfect use case where you can look for these kind of original sounds that doesn't have that. But yes, we do track original sounds. We track them every single day.
Awesome. He had another question. I find out about a trend on my FYP, but it's usually too late. Is Trendpop helpful for being on top of trends before it blows up?
Yeah. So this is the one where we like to say, yep, that is right. We like to make sure that we are always on top of these trends. So we track every single hour. We take a look at new budding trends. That's actually how our system prioritizes like what things to like take a look at more than others. So we look at kind of a lot of creators. We have our database of 80 million creators, as I mentioned, and we look at what they're posting over every single hour and see kind of like, oh, there's an uptick here. This is something that we should like dive deep in. Like, let's see if there's some hashtags. Let's see if there's sounds that they're using that are in common. And it's a great way to basically, see like what is the thing that's going to blow up, in a day or even like 2 or 3 days.
Awesome. And do you guys have any like interesting or fun like stories or anecdotes of people using your tool and then being able to capitalize on these in a big way?
Yeah, I think one of our like initial case studies that we did like way back when in like February or March with a TikTok marketing agency. I think they gained over like 1 billion views, and I think they were using us just for like reporting on their campaign. So we were part of their strategy. I know they had some creator partnerships and other stuff that they brought in through that. Apart from that, I think we've one interesting little tidbit is we've been focusing on brand marketers a lot, but like we based on the tools we built, it's also really useful for creators on TikTok that are just looking to grow their audience. So we've actually gotten a bunch of there's been a few videos on TikTok that we don't really have a great TikTok presence right now, but there have been a few videos on TikTok that kind of blew up and like drove people to our platform through that. So it's kind of like, we've started to take a look at like TikTok marketing as even potential for growing our own business. It's kind of like this like meta point. So I think that was kind of cool seeing that kind of growth organically. And I will mention one last thing is we do have a free tool for creators where we took a very common ask that we get, which is just like, what's the top 100 trends that are blowing up right now, top sounds, hashtags, and profiles, and we just put it out there for free. It's called the Trendpop Hot 100. You can Google it, or you can take a look at hot.trendpop.social.
Awesome. And I know we're coming up on time, but if anyone else has any questions, feel free to drop them in before we wrap. Maybe while we're waiting, giving people one last chance, any sort of like parting thoughts or bits of wisdom for somebody looking to start out on TikTok on behalf, for their own marketing efforts?
Yeah, I'd say kind of the big one is authenticity. Like, I think that is kind of like one big thing, separate from what we've already talked about of like, if you really want to blow up and you want to start these trends and you want to have like that relatability, that participatability, but really for your own accounts, it's really authenticity. Like, TikTok, everybody's going to see through it. All the time we analyze comments and like we take a look and we see like people are like saying like, oh yeah, like why do people think that we're going to fall for this? Like this is clearly a marketing strategy. So it's really about being authentic and like playing into that.
Awesome. Yeah, I think TikTok says it really well. all over their website. Make TikToks, not ads.
Exactly.
So I guess before we wrap, I know you referenced that Hot 100 list. Is there any other place you'd like to direct people? Like, should they just go to trendpop.social if they want to learn more, or what's the best place to go?
Yeah, go to our website, trendpop.social, Google Trendpop, and yeah, there should be like a little more information about a few screenshots of what our tool looks like. If you're interested in like getting your hands on it, playing with it, seeing if it's useful to your business, you can book a demo with us on that website. And just in general, if you have any like comments or like questions, just feel free to email us. Our email is at hello@trendpop.social. And we're always happy to call. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for doing this, guys. This is fun. And, I can vouch for the tool. I love playing around with it and seeing new trends and creators popping off. It's a lot of fun. You guys have built something very cool. So appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to chat with us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you for inviting us, VidCon and Brendan.
For sure. All right. Have a good one.